Hello, friends, and welcome to episode number 85 of Nostalgia Talk. I'm James, and joining me for 85, that's 15 away from triple digits. Wow. I'm realizing now that the more episodes I do, the closer we get to 100. That's crazy. But joining me for this one is Nikki Smedley.
Oh,
Hello to you too. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, although from that I have a feeling that that's a relatively low number, some of you have probably already guessed. Nikki is best known as Laa-Laa from Teletubbies, and in addition to that, has also worked on In the Night Garden and Boohbah. So, Nikki, a big hello to you too.
thank you.
That's her real voice. So let's begin. What did you aspire to want to become?
Well, when I was really little, like 5 or something, I had a list of things that I wanted to do when I grew up. And I wanted to be one of Pan's people who were like these dancing girls on Top of the Pops on the big pop music show at the time. And I wanted to be an author, and I wanted to be an actress, and I wanted to be an archaeologist. And I think I've come pretty damn close, really, because I was a dancer for many years, though not on a television pop show. I was far too arty for that. And obviously, I was actress, doing lots of performing things. I write. Now, I have written all the time, but I write now more than ever. And the archaeology, I didn't do that, but I'm not crying about it.
So you were always interested in the performing arts. Do you remember your first ever gig?
Yeah. Um, I was about 3,
Oh,
and
wow. So
I went.
at a young age, did you also play the role of a murdered child? I have a friend who was a murdered child on America's Most Wanted when she was 4.
No, no, I can't top that. But no, I got sent to ballet classes like lots of little girls are. And I remember our ballet teacher said, "Oh, we're going to do a show, and you're going to be part of it, and we're going to do sing a song of sixpence." And then she sort of said to us, "And I'm going to need one very special little girl to play the blackbird that comes and pecks off the maid's nose at the end. I wonder who that's going to be." And I just went, "Oh, me!" With like a horrible, precocious child. But it
But
wasn't
but
who.
very eager to get started at least.
Oh God, I don't know where I don't come from a theatrical background or anything at all. But there's just always was this thing in me. No, performing, that's me. Tick, I know. No questions asked. That was it. Always just wanted to be on stage.
Do you remember the first time you actually did end up on TV?
On TV, um,
Because you said that you wanted to be like on like a Top of the Pops uh quite type
yeah.
thing. Do
Well,
you, do you remember
I
the first
suppose
time that ever happened? Well, maybe not on
I
that, but
wasn't I was in a few pop videos in my
oh, that's
youth,
cool.
dancing in pop videos in the 80s mostly. So yeah, I don't know whether you'd have heard of any of them. Soul to Soul were probably the most successful.
Okay.
Oh, Shay, I was in all of these was kind of a little bit blink and you'll miss it, but I did I did do a whole string of pop videos now and again for eating money.
So how did the Teletubbies come about?
Well, as I say, I'd been a dancer. I ran my own dance company and I danced for other people. And I got to the ripe old age of 34, which isn't terribly old, but dancer years are like dog years. And I was getting a bit long in the tooth and it started to hurt more. And if I injured myself, it took longer to heal. And also I was just poor all the time. And so I just kind of thought, well, it's time to look out and what else might be available to me. So, and I really didn't know what. And so I looked at all the notice boards at the studios and all the trade magazines and stuff. And there was an advertisement in the back of the stage newspaper that said new performers wanted for a children's television program. Artists with stamina required. um,
That
so I
depends
answered
on what their definition of stamina is.
yeah, that's what they meant. And, so I went to the audition and gradually I went to lots of auditions as they whittled down to us. But so that was it. Unbelievably, it was. I answered an ad in a newspaper and I got the job.
So for like auditioning for Teletubbies, like did you audition for a particular character, or was it like I'm willing to take on whatever one you want me to do?
No, I mean, it was really early days. They had a kind of basic storyboard of the title sequence, a basic idea of the characters. Anne Wood, who's the head of Ragdoll Productions. She knew exactly what she wanted to do in terms of, like, she knew how she wanted it to speak directly to the child, and she didn't want any adults there. And she was all about connecting with the child's imaginative life. And she understand, and Andy, who wrote the show, they understand very well how a child's mind works and how to make meaning for them, and also how to kind of slip in deep education. So it's not sort of overtly Sesame Streety, not that there's anything wrong with that. Big fan of Sesame Street. But they knew
Join the
precisely.
club.
Yeah. They knew what they wanted to do, but they hadn't kind of got the they weren't clear exactly how it would be. So we were there really from the very beginning, helping develop the characters and so forth. So yeah, and the characters shifted slightly according to who they cast. So we made ourselves up, if you like.
Oh, okay. But that's interesting with what you were saying about how to talk to the kids, because the Teletubbies language was typical. I rewatched a little bit of Teletubbies getting ready for this for the first time in a while. I hadn't thought about Teletubbies in very, very long until I got this puzzle of all things from the 90s. And the Teletubbies were on it. And I was like, whoa, I haven't thought about that in a long, long time. So that was one of the first times that had been in my head in a while. And getting ready for this, I rewatched a couple of episodes, and it was all just like generic baby talk, pretty well. Is that a good way to describe it? The way that they talk?
Well, I always think of it like, because our scripts would have like proper English words before
Okay.
we were. And then in as part of our preparation work, we worked a lot on the voices and how we were going to speak and communicate. And I always thought of it as like when children are first learning language, and they kind of get the cadence, they get the tune before they've got the lyrics to fill it in.
Mhm.
So that was the important thing to me, was that you got the tune of what it was we were trying to say, and then like
Okay.
best a stab as you would imagine a 3-year-old would make. So we weren't just gibbering as some people seem to think we were.
Because
But
when
like,
when I booked you on this podcast, my sister and her girlfriend were here, and I was on my phone reading the confirmation from you, and I looked at my sister and I was like, "We got another one!" And my family was like, "Oh, who is it?" And I said, "Nikki Smedley. She was Laa-Laa on the Teletubbies." And my sister just looked at me funny, and she's like, "What does Laa-Laa even say?" I was like, "Oh, easy. Laa-Laa says hello and uh-oh."
and what's that? And bibbly cheese.
I don't remember that one.
Bibbly cheese was my special kind of expletive whenever she got frustrated. And I can't remember exactly what Andy had written in the script, but it was something like like, yes, Laa-Laa swears, obviously not swearing, but but like that. So it
Okay,
was.
that would be hilarious. There's probably YouTube parodies of that somewhere. Hmm. So, did you find that performing Laa-Laa, in addition to like having to figure out what to say, like again, with you were saying Laa-Laa trying to curse, having some kind of interesting children's way of swearing, but did you find that performing that character was physically challenging?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, like I say, I'd been a dancer, so it's not like I wasn't used to hard physical work. But
Okay.
no, there was nothing could have prepared me for how exhausting it was. And partly it was because you were also doing it in the kind of oxygen deprived state, that
Hmm.
was what made it really hugely tiring.
I
Yeah.
I can imagine. Did you find it hard to see at all? Like,
Yeah.
mhm. Like I'm of course thinking about Carol Spinney, who was Big Bird.
Big Bird, yeah.
Yeah, and of course that was That seemed very physically challenging too. And I don't know if you've seen how he does that, but he's got a monitor strapped to his stomach so that way he can see what's on camera. Because I've never actually been inside of the Big Bird puppet, but I can just imagine how disorienting it would be because literally everything glows yellow and it's blocked by dyed turkey feathers.
And also, you see, when you have a monitor in your suit like that, it's flipped.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
you're actually
right.
looking at everything backwards, which is a bit. Ugh. They tried us with monitors at the start, but
I was
I mean,
wondering that.
our heads were so huge. I mean, really enormous and really heavy. And then we had our microphones and the battery pack for that, and the battery pack for the earpiece. And the last thing we really wanted inside the head was any more weight on,
Oh.
puny little necks. Um, so we tried that for a bit, and in the end, we just went with no. We'll just look. Nunu had a monitor, so he could see where he was driving. But no, we just looked out. We looked out of the mouths, which were about like that.
Okay, that's interesting. So how did they because as I was rewatching some of this, I saw that the mouths would move. Was that like done remote controlled?
No, that was us. That was
Oh, okay.
another bunch of work we did. We had like mechanisms in our hands that would blink the eyes
Oh,
and
okay.
operate the mouth. So you had to remember to keep blinking all the time, which was a bit sort of, rub your tummy and pat your head thing, because you couldn't just stop blinking every time you spoke. So you had to be speaking, puppeteering, but then also be blinking the whole time, not necessarily in time with how you were speaking. So that was the thing to get used to. And
Wow.
also, I made it a real, because I liked puppeteering. I liked being as accurate as I could, and that was sort of my personal challenge. So things like if you say help, for example, you don't go help, you say help, help. There's a little bounce
Mhm.
in your actual mouth. So all of those little details I tried to add to give Laa-Laa a more realistic, because I always thought she was probably the smartest.
Hmm. And you, if I'm not mistaken, you also got to shoot on location when you were doing Teletubbies. Is that correct?
We shot it all on location. Well,
Okay.
apart from that, there's one or two bits in the opening titles that were green screen, like popping in and out of the dome. But no, Teletubbyland was real. It
Okay.
was a real place.
Hmm.
So
So
that's
was
how
there a
we filmed
little
it.
was there a little house? Was that like actually inside of that hill, or was that a separate set?
No, that was all, it's all real. So the
Oh,
dome was inside the dome is exactly how it looked.
okay, cool.
It was really cool.
Hmm. So as I was rewatching Teletubbies to get ready for this, I watched a lot of the little film clips that the Teletubbies were playing on their like little TVs on their stomach.
Mhm.
And like there were some that I had remembered like making chocolate, I think it was, or playing in the park. Were there and like these are real kids doing real things. Were there
Yeah.
any for you that when you saw them, like you just felt really, really touched by them?
Well, to be honest with you, we didn't see that many because we
Okay.
were busy filming and somebody else was going off and filming them, filming the little inserts.
Hmm.
So I remember the very first show that they cut together, and they brought an offline edit to our wrap party at the end of the first year's filming, and that was Ned's bicycle. And so I always have a soft spot for Ned's bicycle. It was also just the most adorable little boy. And so his dad had a bike that he rode on the back of, and then Ned had his own little bike. And Dad was fixing the bike one day, and I remember Ned just going, "I'm doing some work." That was very cute. And then later on, once we'd finished all of our filming for Teletubbies, these films were still being made, and especially for the American market, because they were a little bit behind with delivering them. Because I think I can't remember why, or perhaps we had to have some American children. Anyway, I got to film some of those inserts myself because Anne wanted me to have a go at it, thought I might be good at filming kids, what with being infantile and everything. So I have a soft spot for those as well, like taking kids out of Bristol and playing on the beach. And some of these children had never seen the sea before or never seen sand. you know? So that was,
Mm.
yeah. That was
It's
lovely.
interesting because my cousins were here from Montreal last summer, and we took them to the beach, like an ocean beach, and they were so excited to be in the Atlantic Ocean because they had never that's something they've never done before.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Yes, I
Mhm.
remember this one little Indian girl, and we came over the breakwater.
Like on the show.
No, this is when I was filming the inserts.
Okay.
So I'd taken these children from Bristol to the beach to film a tubby insert. And I don't know, there were about a dozen of them or something. And I got them all down. They were going to run about on the sand and I was going to film them. But this one girl, I remember, she just came over the top. She said, "What is that?" Ow, oh my God. And sort of hanging onto my leg, and took her a bit of time just to realize that it was okay. And, nobody was scared. It was supposed to be a fun thing. And then she had the time of her life. It was wonderful.
That's sweet. So, if you don't mind me asking, were you asked to voice Laa-Laa for the animated reboot?
No,
Okay.
sadly, no.
It's a shame, because I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a perfect character, and I mean, like, it's not like anything would have really changed. I mean, and from what I can see, you're still really good at doing the voice. So,
Well, I hope so.
hmm. We'll remember
Yeah,
that.
but
We'll hopefully remember that for the next
we
Teletubbies
are,
reboot.
I'm afraid we are yesterday's tubs. We don't get asked to do that kind of thing anymore.
Hmm. Shame. And as I mentioned in the intro, you also were involved in the shows Boohbah and In the Night Garden. I remember Boohbah from when I was a kid. In the Night Garden was a little bit when I was older, but I thought it was a cute show. The dynamic for all three, Teletubbies, Boohbah, and In the Night Garden, was kind of the same. What was it like to be involved in the other two?
Well, Night Garden, um, I was brought in to sort of help train up the cast, really, because again, it was people in suits.
Hmm.
And I had learnt the ragdoll way. So I worked with them for a while, and then I did the choreography for the show. So I was kind of involved. But Boohbah was my baby. I was really was. I cast those people, and because they were all dancers, and I did all the choreography for that and a bit of the direction, and I was very, very closely involved. And they were such a great crowd. I really loved working on that show. It was a real treat. And
Yeah,
also,
and
and because the point, particularly coming from a dance background and having a chance to do something with it that was going to affect young children, our whole point was that we wanted to make a show where the movement on the screen was so contagious and so attractive to a young child that they just want to get up off the couch and dance. So I did loads of research with kids, and then we made little test films and showed it on screen to viewing children. And just the moment when they all just went, whoop, I think, yay, that's it. We're on the right track. That's exactly
Mhm.
what's going on.
Mhm. So they
So
responded pretty well to it then.
yeah, yes. And it wasn't a great hit here, but it was pretty big in the States, as I recall. And
And
also
in
in
Canada too.
good. And also in places like India. And I think it even went to China. Um, yeah.
Wait, a local British show was not a hit in the UK?
It wasn't well, I think it was that kind of difficult second album thing where after Teletubbies, it was like, what's it going to do next? We don't get it because they don't speak and so forth. And also there was, because that wasn't a BBC show, that was an ITV, an independent
Hmm.
channel show. And there was lots of political shenanigans going on behind the scenes with different people taking over different elements of so, it sort of fell between the cracks a little bit, but I'm still super proud of Boohbah.
I can imagine. And because you got to be like a producer for it, and as you said, you got to pick the kids being in it. Like that's a big job.
I didn't do the kid bit, to be
Okay.
honest. The Boohbah thing, the kids, that was a lady called Annie Gibb, and she was in charge of all the kid bits, but I was in
Okay.
charge of all the Boohbah bits.
It's cute. And for In the Night Garden, as you said, you were training the costume performers, and you were also choreographer. Can you talk a little bit about being a choreographer for that show and how the training for the actors went down?
Well, Night Garden came after Boohbah, so I'd already done lots of study and work and trials with knowing which movement really worked for kids and what it was that was going to inspire them. So I sort of had all that in my trunk already. And there wasn't a fantastic amount of choreography for Night
Okay.
Garden, but I mean, mostly it was the carousel sequence. And that was incredible because of all the characters being such different sizes. Then you wanted them all to dance together in this place. But of course, in real life, they were all people of more or less people size. So how are you going to film them so that Macca Pacca looks tiny, as opposed to Iggle Piggle and Upsy Daisy and the rest? So
I
we had
forgot about all these character names from In the Night Garden. I forgot how funny they were.
So we had this like
I don't know what's funnier, the names of the characters from In the Night Garden or the names of the characters from Teletubbies. My sister and I were talking about it the other day. She's like, "What are the Teletubbies names?" I went Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Laa-Laa, and Poe, and we realized a few things. For one thing, Poe is the most human sounding name out of all of them.
yeah.
Dipsy now could be a nickname for a drunk person.
Yes, well, and could then as well. But it's not. I'm going to see him tonight, actually. I'm going John Simmet, who played Dipsy, he's in a big theatre musical called Windrush, based
Oh,
on
cool.
Windrush. Um, so I'm going to go and see that tonight. I'm going to see my Dips doing his thing.
Oh, that'll be fun. Plenty of
Yeah,
nostalgia for you, hence the name of this podcast.
I'll be all proud mum. Oh, it's my Dipsy. Citrus Posse. See, that was it. Me and John, we were the Citrus Posse, as opposed to the other
Oh,
who were the forest fruits.
yes. As soon as you said citrus, I got it right away. That's hilarious.
In fact, I wish I should have made a sign so I could hold it up in the middle of the show from the audience. Citrus Posse.
People would probably look at that and be like, "What the hell is the citrus posse?"
Yeah, just get that out of our sightline, will you?
uh, Going back to what we were talking about with choreographing for In the Night Garden. I cut you off.
Oh yeah. So yes, the bit with the carousel, as I was saying, with trying to make the characters small and big, even though they're all the same size. We have this huge, and of course, they move at different times because of their size. Really confused. We had this huge motion capture camera that took up half the studio, and then filming them one by one. And then me and the director and Andy, who created Night Garden, it's just like doing maths. We're just doing maths forever. So if he's that big and he's moving at that speed, that means the camera has to be at so and so a ratio. It was really tough, but it came out good.
Well, that's good then. That despite all the confusion, that it came out good. Talking about choreography, actually, according to IMDb, the reason I say according to IMDb is because I have asked previous guests about projects that they've been credited for on IMDb, and two of them have said, "That's not me in that project. IMDb is full of lies." So that's why I start with, according to IMDb, you were a chorus dancer for the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The first question about that is that true?
Oh, the Oompa Loompas and I go
Okay, I'll
way
take
back.
that as a yes.
No, it isn't. I tell you what. No, hardly any of those film credits are me. What happened was, I think it was 2022. There suddenly were all these rumors online that I was dead. And
What the hell?
I know. Oh, Nikky Smedley, Laa-Laa dead. What a shame. R.I.P. And
I see that
I
about a
was
lot
not
of
surprised, but
childhood icons, like Greg from the Wiggles, Steve from Blue's Clues. People are like, "Oh, they're dead," and I'm like, "Where are you hearing that from?"
so yeah, there were lots of. It wasn't just one or two. There were loads of them. So
Jeez.
John rang me up and went, because it wasn't that long ago that we'd lost Simon. So John rang me up and went, you are here, aren't you? Yeah, I'm here. I'm on holiday in Morocco. I'm not dead. It's okay. But
How do they get Holiday in Morocco to dead? That makes no friggin' sense.
I know. So anyway, and then I came back and some months passed and I was going with my producer. We were going up to Edinburgh Fringe. It was just, that's when my book came out and I was doing Edinburgh Book Festival. And she came up with me, and I was telling her the story about the me dead. And she said maybe there was another Nikki Smedley then who died. And so she said, well, let's look it up. We looked up on IMDb, and that's when we saw this huge, it's got smaller, my list. At the time, it was enormous list of credits, cross genre and everything. Yeah, most of which I hadn't been in. So
So this is
but I
the
left them there.
so
I just
you're the third person who's come on this show who
yeah.
has had that happen to them.
Yes. And then when you hear, you know, people, the news and things on the television or quiz shows, something, and they say, according to IMDb, and you think, yeah, but that's a long way from reliable.
Sure as hell is.
So now, yeah, and occasionally, you know, like after my Confessions of a Teletubby theatre show, and I do a little book signing, and people come and ask questions, and quite often they will ask me about a film, and so I do just say, you know, oh no, that person was horrible, you know, he was in love, because it's just more fun than going, it wasn't in it.
I'm glad you brought up the book, Over the Hills and Far Away, Life as a Teletubby. How did you get the idea to write that? Where did that come from?
Well, I'd wanted to do it. I'd always wanted to do it, but I'd always been too busy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know if you remember this, but there was this big global illness thing.
Oh,
So,
yeah, I
yeah,
remember that.
basically, I was on my own in my little house, and I was about to do another different theatre show, and all got cancelled. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with myself? I thought, well, let's make that lemonade. So that's when I wrote the memoir, and it seemed like the right time, because that was also
One half
another,
of the citrus posse makes the lemonade.
yeah. I had to wait for the people that had grown up with Teletubbies to grow up more, to grow up to such an age that they might like to buy a book. So that was also to do with the timing of it. And then, you know, the world was dark and scary, so I thought it would be nice to remind people of the lovely, joyous, fun-filled, safe and secure world of the Tubbies. It would be a good thing to revisit in that climate. So yeah, that's when I wrote it. And then, having written it, and as I say, I went up to promote it in Edinburgh, and then I was thinking about taking a separate theatre show with me. And one of the guys who runs a venue up there, he got a hold of me, and he just said, you need to do something based on the book. So I did. So I wrote the show.
Mm-hmm. So the live show, like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, and that is called Confessions of a Teletubby, and it sort of does what it says on the tin. And I talk about how I got the job, and what it was like in the beginning, what it was like in the suits, what all the different people were like, all the kind of behind the scenes gossip and stuff. And it's funny. It's a funny show. What else can I tell you about it, really? That's it. That's kind of it. It just is.
Well, it definitely
Confessions of a
sounds.
Oh, I should say as well, in case anybody is coming over to Edinburgh from Canada this year, it's not for children.
Well,
Going back to what you were saying earlier
personally,
about the swearing,
yeah,
there is a bit of swearing.
well, there we go. There's our cursing Teletubbies right there.
Because in real life, I am a bit of a potty mouth.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, it's interesting actually. My very best friend in the whole wide world actually lives in Edinburgh, so maybe one of these days I'll make the trip over to Edinburgh, and then Sean, if you are
Yes.
listening, I'm sorry to confess this, try to rope her into reliving our childhoods.
Sean, did you say?
Yep, that's her name.
Sean, come to Edinburgh. I'm at Space UK, Surgeons Hall, August 2nd to the 10th. Come, say hello. Say you're a mate.
Well, there we go. I mean, you know, maybe I'll be there, and there's something that she and I can add to the best friend list. So, well, that's all I've got here. Is there anything you want to say to wrap up?
Um, really, I suppose my wrapping up thing is that people say, oh, don't get sick of it. You know, don't get sick about it. People want to talk about Teletubbies and want to call you Laa-Laa and blah, blah. And I say, no, I don't mind. You know, people in my village call me La. My nieces and nephews call me Auntie La. I don't mind. And the most wonderful thing about it is that You
That actually
know,
does kind of make me wonder if they actually have real human names, or like
what, my nieces and nephews.
no, the Teletubbies.
Oh, what? I don't quite understand what you mean.
So like, were they named Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Laa-Laa, and Poe right from birth?
Yeah, I think they were.
Okay, well there we go.
Yeah.
I can just imagine them going into a law office. That'd be an interesting spin-off, seeing what they do as adults.
Well, I always thought we should have had a chat show. Because I mean, we'd need a really big sofa, but I think we'd have just been hilarious, because people behave differently to giant puppets than they behave to human beings, and they do give a lot more away. But no,
And
we
I mean,
wanted to have,
everybody who grew up with Teletubbies, they're all like my age now. So for us, it's just reliving our childhoods.
yeah, yes, that's right.
Well,
So yeah, so that's the thing really, is that I feel really lucky and very glad to have been a part of it, because it's lovely to have your efforts bring so many people laughter.
well, Nikki, thank you very much for joining me for Nostalgia Talk today.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you. Bye bye. Bye.
And for all listeners out there, for announcements of future Nostalgia Talks, you guys know where to go. Facebook and Twitter links are right in the description, and I will see you next time. Normally, I would say peace out, but I'm tempted now. Bye-bye.